Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 15. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
But that's not going to happen. So instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Today, we are talking to Dawn. Dawn lives in the Seattle area, and she works at Amazon. But we just learned that she is not secretly Jeff Bezos, so stop asking. Welcome, Dawn.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. We're very excited to have you. So did you travel much as a kid, or has it been more in your adult years that you started gallivanting all over the world?
Oh, definitely as an adult.
Okay.
I mean, we just did like basic family vacations, right? We didn't go anywhere. I think the Grand Canyon was our only like
Okay.
big trip.
Epic. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, man. And how many countries have you been to? Do you have a count on that?
Oh, I should have counted that. 9-ish, maybe.
Cool. That's
So,
awesome. Oh, my goodness. So fun. That's great.
yeah.
Are you able to travel pretty frequently then?
You know, I feel like I traveled more when I was a little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
Some with work, some with like missions trips, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Traveled a little bit in college. So it's kind of been spread out since I've been an adult.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Certainly not as much as I want.
Well, the international stuff, but you also just travel domestically a lot, too.
I do a fair amount of domestic with my job, so I get to travel around the
Cool.
U.S.
Do you
Yeah,
try to tack on like fun things when you have to go somewhere for work?
I try to if I can. It doesn't always work out, but like I was just in Texas last weekend doing Austin, Dallas, and Houston in 4 days, and I ended up staying the weekend in Houston to visit my family.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's
So
cool.
try to see family and friends if I'm traveling domestically, usually.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah, you were just talking about that you tacked on Universal to a work trip, so that's pretty great. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Was in Florida for a week, so it's like,
Nice.
let's go to Universal while we're
There you
there.
go. That sounds great.
Might as well.
Exactly.
Very cool.
The company did not pay for that, though.
Okay, yeah, to clarify, your Prime
Aw.
dollars are not going towards Dawn Universal's ticket.
Exactly.
Okay, Don. So there are several questions that we ask all of our guests about travel. So the first question for you, why do you travel?
Why do I travel? Because I can. I mean, some of
That's
it
a
is
good
just
one.
like, I mean, it's the adventure of being able to say like, oh, I've been to this place or I've been to this place.
Mm.
A lot of my travel is because of like either I'm going for work or something like that and then tack on a trip, or the opportunity just presents itself. There haven't been very many, particularly international trips, that like I've said, oh, I want to go do this and I'm going to go do this and I make plans. It's usually as an addition to something else that's already happening, or because somebody else, like a missions trip is happening or something like that, and there's an opportunity to go.
Cool.
So you make the most of your opportunities then.
Well, yeah, because usually it means, well, in the case of work, somebody else is paying for my plane ticket. So,
That's
and that's
the
often
big
the most
ticket item.
expensive, right?
Yeah.
So if I
Honestly,
could go
yeah,
on their dollar,
if airfare weren't a thing, then like, oh my gosh, I would go to so many more places. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So much more often.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's
Yeah.
definitely cool that you can do that and that your job lets you tack that stuff on too.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. Oh man.
It usually means we're working crazy hours leading up to that, or while we're in country, which is why I can
Mhm.
duck out afterwards for a little while.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. So
So-
if you're going with a team, then like, do everybody else kind of do the same thing? Like, will they also go like have some fun times?
I don't know. I mean, I think some people do. I've never gone where we've then gone and done a trip together afterwards.
Mhm.
So I don't know if other people take advantage of that as well or not.
You're like, I don't really care what you do. I'm taking advantage of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so when you've done those things, how much of those trips have been solo, where you just go off on your own afterwards?
So I haven't done that many of them. So I did the first time I went to China, I was with a group at the beginning and then went off to Shanghai afterwards, but that was still work. But I was by myself meeting up with somebody in country.
Okay.
So really the main one that I've done is the Vietnam trip where I went to China again. And then after the fact, went down to Vietnam for a while and then came back to China and then flew home. I did when I went to Japan. I was in Japan for 2 weeks in Tokyo. And so, like, on the weekends, I would go and do stuff. But most of the time with the trips that I'm doing, I am often traveling by myself. And my team members come in for short periods of time, but I'm the one that's there the whole time. And so
Gotcha.
the trips afterwards or whatever are happening more by myself just because I'm not traveling the whole time with people.
So what is your favorite and least favorite part of traveling by yourself?
Ooh. I love traveling by myself. The introvert in me doesn't mind being by myself at all. I think the only thing like that I miss about traveling by myself is that you don't have somebody to kind of share the trip with and ooh and awe with.
Yep.
I don't think like I'm not sure I would be the type of person who would want to take a trip with somebody and spend the whole time with that person. Like my ideal travel person would be someone who we kind of independently decide what we're going to do each day. And sometimes it's together and sometimes it's separate excursions. But we come back in the evening to like have dinner together or whatever and share our experiences. And then sometimes do stuff together. But I really don't mind being by myself. Although it is challenging just, you know, like you're the one that has to figure out everything.
Yeah.
And that gets old sometimes.
Yeah, you can't really have like the tired time when you're like, I don't know, you find the signs for this place. It's like, no, it's always you finding the signs for the place.
Yeah. Or I don't
like,
care what we eat tonight. Just pick some place.
Yeah. Or like communication in another country or different things like that. Well, okay, Don and Ryan, I'm pretty sure that you guys need to take a trip together then, because this sounds like Ryan's jam too, to have like some together time, some alone time. So we might have just found you guys travel buddies.
We would probably travel quite well together.
I think we
you
probably.
would.
I think
Yeah.
we could. Yeah. I think that would work. And if there's any way that you can convince Amazon to pay for my ticket, I'm down.
Ooh.
There you go.
Ryan's a translator. Did you know that?
I could be a consultant.
Yeah.
If we need to do some education research in
Hey,
Australia
you've had me do
or
education
something.
research before.
Local Star Wars expert. I don't know.
There you go. That works too.
Nice.
Well, I think you've kind of already answered our second question of like what type of traveler are you? But is there anything else you'd like to add in our understanding of what type of traveler you are?
Sure. Like, I don't know that I like to be super planned. Like, I like to have some general idea of what I'm doing, but I also like to have some days that are more flexible, that it's kind of like I get to see what I want to do, or just explore. I haven't really done any, like, tour group kind of thing, and I'm not sure whether or not there's part of me that would like it just because it would be planned and structured for me. But I would worry about the downtimes where I could go do my own thing, and I wouldn't want to be too stuck to a schedule.
Yeah.
So if you found like a super chill tour group, then you'd be down with that.
Yeah, the only tour group that I've actually, I mean, like a tour that I've actually considered is like would do like a photography tour where we're going with a bunch of photographers where they're getting you into
That'd be
places
cool.
where you would have access that you might not otherwise have.
Yeah.
And that could be a cool tour group
Yeah.
experience, like to Africa or something like that would be really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, because you do a lot of photography for, I know you do it for the Seattle Storm team. Is that correct?
No, just, well, I used to do it a long time ago for like an online sports magazine, but I don't really do it much anymore. So most of my stuff is just for me
for
personally.
fun, for you. Yeah. Awesome.
But I do, I mean, that is a part of my consideration in where I travel and what I want to do while I'm there.
Is what good shots you can get.
Yeah, exactly. What opportunities there might be.
So what's been like a shot that you've been super proud of that you got on a trip?
I have a couple actually from my Vietnam trip that I really like.
Cool.
That are just some really cool shots and that I've, had printed in canvas.
Mm.
Oh, cool.
There's one of my shots from Vietnam that I'm bummed that it's not quite as in focus as I wanted it to be. But there was in the streets of Vietnam, there's just all these markets, and then people selling stuff on the side of the street. And I captured this picture of an older woman sitting kind of behind a barrel, selling some goods. And it was a beautiful, I love the picture because it just really captures her and just the environment and the culture a little bit. But it's not quite as in focus as I would like it to be. It's not bad, but it's not as crisp as I would like it to be. So that was kind of cool. And that's not the type of photography I do in general. I don't like to invade people's space, and I feel like that's a little weird. But it just was a cool photo. I'm definitely much more scenery, nature, buildings, architecture, things like that.
Gotcha. Oh, very cool.
So to wrap up this kind of beginning part, and we can dive more into your trip to Vietnam, what would you say is your number one travel tip?
So I've been listening to your other podcast, so I knew this question was coming, and I've been thinking about it because I'm like, I don't know what I would say.
What would
I
you
have
say?
to say, well, so it's actually a tip that my dad gave me when I went to Russia, I think at one point in time, or he may have said it at another time. But he basically said, don't let money be a reason that you don't do something. And obviously that's within reason. But the reason that it was it was such a good tip because it actually came into play. When I went to Russia, on our way back, we had a layover in the Czech Republic, in Prague.
Cool.
And it was just one night. We were staying at a hostel, but we left the airport, went to the hostel, and we're coming back the next day. And a group of people that I was with were like, let's go tour the city. Let's go see the city. We can rent a car. And they're like, it's only this much for each person. And I'm like, wow, that seems like a lot of money. And my dad's voice came back, don't let money be a reason you don't do something. And again, it wasn't an exorbitant amount. It just seemed like a lot. Yeah. And I did. I went with them. And it was amazing because we just got to see, Prague is a beautiful city. And they dropped us off at the top where this kind of castle thing was, and then we walked down into the village and they met us down below, and it was a great experience and a great evening, and I was so glad that I listened to my dad. And so I guess that would be my thing, is just if you're presented with an opportunity, don't let money be the reason. Obviously within reason, but
reason,
don't quibble over dollars when it's an opportunity you may never get again.
Those once in a lifetime things. Yeah. That's good advice. Yeah. Again, within reason. You don't want to be explaining that to your accountant for why you're bankrupt or anything, but
right. But most of the stuff that you get opportunities to do is not going to be that kind of stuff, right? It's okay, is this tour worth $100? Am I ever going to be able to do it again? Right? And do I want to do it? Then I should just do it, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yep. It's a great tip. All right. So why don't you go ahead and start telling us about your trip? Where exactly did you go? When did you go? What wonderful experiences did you have?
Yeah. So when did I go? I don't actually even remember what year it was. Maybe 2012. And I had a work trip scheduled to go to China for some research, and kind of talked to my boss ahead of time and said, is Microsoft, at the time I was working for Microsoft, and I was like, is Microsoft cool if I tack on some vacation to the end of this trip, because I have all this vacation, and do something like that? She was like, yeah, absolutely, that's fine. And so then I was like, okay, well, where am I going to go? Because I'm all the way over there, and where would I like to go?
So many opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of options there. And so I was like, okay, well, I really would like to go to Thailand. I'd really like to go to Vietnam. And there's just so many locations in there that I was like, oh, I'll do a whole tour of it, right? And then as I started thinking about it, like, that's like one day in each place, and that's going to be too crazy. So I was like, okay, Vietnam sounds, and a friend of mine who had traveled all over the world kind of suggested Vietnam because she was like, you're going to be traveling by yourself, and it's one of the more safe Asian cities.
Oh, really?
Partly because they have really strict consequences for anybody who commits a crime against foreigners.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
Actual, like, part of their law.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Supposedly. That's what I was told. And so there was a sense that it was a little bit safer as an American to be there. And so I was like, I've heard good things about it. That's where I'll go. And it was super easy, right? Because from China to Vietnam was not a very long flight. I think it was like a $400 flight. So it was super cheap compared to like getting all the way over there from here.
Right.
And then just kind of decided what was I going to do. And so bought one of the, tour guide books and started marking off places I was interested in. Originally was going to go through AAA to have a travel agent help me plan stuff. And they just kind of dropped the ball and didn't really help me or didn't really contact me. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it myself. So I figured out like where to go, where to stay. I ended up going to Hanoi and found a hotel there that was like a 4-star hotel for like $60 a night.
What?
Oh, wow.
Super cheap in Vietnam. So that was awesome. Had heard that Ha Long Bay was an amazing excursion to do. And so booked that, where they come to your hotel, pick you up, take you on this boat cruise for 3 days, 2 nights, bring you back.
Wow.
And then also booked a trip, which we could talk more about later if you're interested, but to the Cuc Phuong National Park, because I had heard that they had a primate rescue center there that I thought would be super interesting to visit. And so I ended up booking a private tour guide with a private driver who took me out there to do that trip. It ended up not being as great as I had hoped it was going to be. That was kind of a little bit of a bust.
Yeah, we're going to need more
I feel
details.
like we need to hear this.
We need to hear about it, yeah.
But I think it was the time of year, maybe. I'm not really sure. It was still fun, but there was definitely some weird things about that adventure. And then came back to Hanoi. So the tour guide was great, spoke great English. The driver was great. The ride out there was amazing. We went through countryside and all that kind of stuff. And then we got out there to where I was staying, and I had booked the Cuc Phuong Resort and Spa. And you can look it up online. It looks like a huge facility, tons of bungalows, and it looks like a beautiful place. And when I got there, it was beautiful. There weren't a lot of people there. So the first morning that I had breakfast, I think I saw like one other tourist that was there.
Whoa.
Oh.
I mean, and they had this huge restaurant area, and it was just empty. And so I was a little bit
weird.
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
This is weird. Yeah, exactly. And my tour guide and the driver had no accommodations. They hadn't made plans ahead of time about where they were going to stay. And so I have no idea where they ended up staying. They said they would figure it out, but there wasn't anything nearby for them to go to. And I think because it was off season, maybe that was why. I don't know. I had a beautiful room. It had a bamboo tub in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
It had an outdoor shower on your deck that was enclosed. Beautiful facility, but just weird because there was nobody there.
Yeah,
weird.
You said off season. What time of year did you go? What is the off season for Vietnam?
I don't know what the off season was, but I was there in April. I think it was April of 2012. So I don't know. April, March, April, somewhere in there. Maybe it was February.
Okay.
It was not the rest of the 9 months. It was somewhere in that range. And so the next day, I planned to go to the Primate Center and to the Cuc Phuong National Park. There were some hikes and things. And so one of the pictures that I actually shared with you guys is a 1,000-year-old tree. And I was like,
Ooh.
And and she was like, "This is a big deal. This is a famous tree. It's 1,000 years old." And I was like, "It doesn't really seem that old to me. Have you seen the redwoods?" Like,
Yeah.
Okay. So we did a little hike. We went to the primate center. It was a little underwhelming. I mean, it was cool because there were monkeys flying all around, but I was kind of hoping to, like, since it was a primate center and they kind of advertise it as a tourist thing, that like maybe you got to interact with the monkeys a little bit or something. They were just in big enclosures and you watched them move around.
Okay.
The biggest challenge of that whole trip was food, because where Cuc Phuong National Park is, it's out in the country, right? And so there's just not like, you know, when you're in the city, there's like restaurants and places to go. Well, there
Yeah.
wasn't really any place to eat. And I am not adventurous when it comes to food. I like to eat things that are tried and tested. Again,
Got it.
Ryan and I would travel
Yep,
well
we
together.
would travel well.
Yeah, you
together,
guys
yep.
would, and then I would just be like, "Why are you not hanging out with me all the time? And why are you not going to the fun restaurant with me?"
Yeah. So we didn't, I mean, like finding food was a challenge. And we just ended up going to like some side of the road place where all the locals went. Like the goats were walking through the like the seating area.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I have no idea what I'm eating and how sanitary it is.
This sounds
or
amazing to
anything.
me. Can I go there? I'm so in.
Yes, you can. I will stay here.
So yeah, so that was a little bit of an adventure. But the best part of that trip was actually coming back. We stopped in a village where we got to take a boat ride with these ladies who paddled the boats for us, and they used their feet to paddle.
What?
Oh,
So they had 2 oars, and they placed their feet on them, and they would use their feet to row the boat. And then we went like through this canal past like these rice paddy fields, and little like small little villages along the way.
wow.
It was super interesting. It was totally a tourist trap because when you get to the end, they want you to like give them donations and things like that. But it was
Sure.
kind of fun. And just watching them row with their feet was mind blowing.
Wow.
So it's kind of like the paddle boats where you're like bicycling, but it's more like
No.
a rowboat.
It's a rowboat. It's literally a
Whoa.
rowboat. And every once in a while, they'd switch and they'd do their arms, and then they'd lean back and they'd do their feet again.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did they grip the oars?
With their toes.
What?
Whoa, they have some buff toes then. Oh my goodness.
And some of
Oh
it was
my
just like
gosh.
momentum, right? Like they just would get it going. And so it was like, and they just need their toes a little bit to bring it back to them. I don't know. It was crazy. I have a video of it. I'll have to show
Wow.
you guys
Oh my
sometime.
goodness. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's definitely memorable.
Yeah.
Very. So yeah, and then the rest of the time was in Hanoi. I did a couple of like day tours where they'd come and pick you up at your hotel, and you'd have a small group of people, and they'd just take you to the different sites, and they'd tell you about it. They had a guide with you you'd all get off of the bus and walk around, and he'd talk a little bit about stuff, and then you'd get back on the bus. We went to the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum, where Ho Chi Minh's body lays in permanent display.
Wait. Now, when you say lays in display,
His body is in
yeah.
a glass casket,
Uh-huh.
and you stand in line and you walk past it
Really?
and
get
can
to
see his body.
to see his body.
Is it like hermetically sealed so it like isn't decaying?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah, something that it's not. Yeah, I mean it's
So
him.
it's not a skeleton. It's like
It's not a skeleton,
Whoa.
And does it look like he's just laying there asleep?
pretty much.
Or it... Okay.
Wow.
And you're not allowed to take like cameras or anything. Like you have to leave everything outside.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh
that
my
was an
goodness.
interesting one.
Wow. I did not know that
Again,
was a
one of those
thing.
things where you're like, I don't really want to see Ho Chi Minh's body, but like I'm in Hanoi, and that's what people do when they're here. So I'm gonna go do
Yeah.
the touristy thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You know that I mean, how can you pass that up?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So it sounds like your little side excursion was a more like off the beaten path thing. But when you were in Hanoi, is that Hanoi? Yes.
Yeah.
Did you mainly kind of do, like you're saying, like the touristy things, or were there some like other little like off the beaten path things that you found? And then like what types of things were most enjoyable for you?
Yeah. So the other big thing that I did from Hanoi was the Ha Long Bay tour. So again, they came, picked me up at my hotel, took you out to Ha Long Bay. You get on a boat with, I think there were like 10 of us total, 10 tourists total on this little boat. And you have your own sleeping room and bathroom. And then you do all your meals on the boat. And so you're with this group of people all together on the boat. They have cooks on the boat, everything like that.
Wow.
And we
so
went
it's like
through,
a cruise.
Yeah, like a cruise. Yep.
Okay.
But just a really small
cruise.
boat. Yep.
Yeah, baby cruise.
Baby cruise.
Makes me think it's a cruise for babies.
And we went around Ha Long Bay, and it's beautiful. Some of the most amazing water sights. We did one night overnight at this beach, just beautiful sandy beach. And again, the time of year that I was there, it was not like super warm, although some people did go swimming. I was like, I'm not getting in that water because it's freezing cold.
The water or the air temperature?
Kind of both. I mean, the water was for sure cold, but the air temperature was not super warm either.
Like what sorts of temperatures are we talking?
I don't even remember, but like a lot of my pictures are really foggy. So it wasn't like bright and sunny weather.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
But we could do like they had kayaks there, or just hang out on the beach, or read. And then that night we did dinner in a cave. So they had a stalagmite cave that just had all these things, and they set up a big long table in the middle of the cave. And they brought all the food up there, and we just had a feast. I mean, like amazing food, and it was all set up. And we got to walk through the cave to our table, and like we didn't know that's what we were doing. They're like, we have a special dinner tonight,
cool,
and they're just like kind of follow us. But I had like they didn't advertise it on the tour or anything like that, so you didn't know that was happening.
Ooh,
and it was amazing. It was so much fun.
So cool. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's a good surprise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And then the next day after that, we got to go to a fishing village that is in Ha Long Bay. So the people from the fishing village came out and picked us up in boats and took us back to their village. And it's a floating village. So it's all on buoys. All of the houses and everything is on buoys. And it's just a small little village that's kind of tucked into the mountains and the rocks, and it's floats so that when they have bad weather, they don't, the homes float and don't just,
the
get
whole
destroyed.
Village is on buoys.
Yeah,
like
these big, they look like big barrels.
What?
And they're just tied together, and it's resting on top. So,
oh my goodness, that sounds magical.
It was
so
amazing.
Cool.
But it was a sweet, I don't even know how many people were in the village. It was not large, but we got to get out of the boats, and like we saw their classroom. So they have one classroom for the village. And you have like little kids, like 2-year-olds, right, that are like just hanging out on the dock, basically. That's their front yard. And I was like, so they've got to learn how to swim really fast, right?
Yeah.
Because
you
think about a 2-year-old crawling over the edge, right? Like you learn to sink or swim really fast.
Oh my goodness.
So that was really fun too.
Sounds so like, I don't know, like post-apocalyptic type of movie, or like, I don't know what kind of movie that's in, but wow, that's so interesting. Yeah. Huh. How many people-ish were in this village? Or like how many buildings-ish?
There were probably maybe 20 houses.
Wow.
And I'm guessing probably less than 100 people.
Wow. Oh my goodness. What an interesting life.
Impressive.
Huh. Wow.
So that was like the Ha Long Bay trip was by far my highlight of my Vietnam trip. And the piece that I'm like, if anybody's going to Vietnam, you have to do Ha Long Bay.
Wow.
Because it just was amazing. on so many levels too. Like one of my favorite things I ate while I was in Vietnam was on the boat. And I have never been able to find it or replicate it, but it was basically they took corn kernels, and I don't know if they like dipped them in like oil and then put sugar on them and fried them or what they did to them, but it was the most delicious thing I think I'd ever had.
But
so
not
yummy.
kettle corn?
It was actual like, it wasn't popped corn.
Oh.
It was the kernels.
Oh, it was corn. Like you had corn, but then this like
as
interesting
if they took
way.
the corn off the cob
Yeah.
and then they dipped it in some sort of like cinnamon sugar almost, and then cooked it in some way that it didn't pop, but it was just delicious.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, so I mean, you mentioned food, so now I need to ask, like, what were the other like awesome foods that you had?
I don't remember any of the other food.
Okay, so that good. Do you remember being satisfied with the food in general? Like, were you like, oh yeah, this was good, or like, I don't know.
Well,
not
so
your jam?
again, I'm not super adventurous.
Sure.
So the hotel that I stayed at did food, like they had breakfast in the morning. That was part of your thing. And I felt like I could somewhat find something to eat. Usually it was fruit because that was the easiest thing and the most appetizing, because some of the other stuff is just not recognizable. And I'm like, I don't really know what's in that. So I do have to say that I did a couple times, like, go to like McDonald's or something like that, right? Because I was in the city, and so it was just like, I just need something familiar. I did go to a restaurant that I thought the food was really great. I really enjoyed it, but I think my meat was a little undercooked, and I ended up getting sick while I was in Vietnam.
No.
And so spent a day in my hotel room not feeling well, which that's another bummer of traveling by yourself.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm sick. I need fluids. I don't like, and there's nobody that can help me.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked.
I think in general, the traveling by yourself is like, when something doesn't go well, it's a little more risky. When things go well, like, cool, and so, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
For sure.
Okay, so food is not the highlight then. Got it. Okay.
Sorry to disappoint you, Cheryl.
It's all good.
The last several episodes, Cheryl has had lots of people to talk to about food, and I just kind of sit back and listen.
Yeah, we get into like Cheryl's food corner.
Okay.
And Cheryl's food corner is just me right now. So I'm just going to have to go myself so I can experience all the wonderful food over there.
And then report back, of course.
Yes.
Oh, man. So what were like the major highlights in the city itself then? Like we heard about this person that looks like he's sleeping. What were the other like super cool things that you got to see there?
So some of it was just going to like, was more culture, right? Like, like I said, near where my hotel was, were just streets and streets of shops. Like that's where they sell their stuff. And so like you find the hole in the wall that's selling shoes, and they just have all their shoes on racks, and that's how they buy shoes, right? Or you find the street that is like, this is Bamboo Street, and every little doorway that you go through is selling different bamboo, different shapes of bamboo. And then the next street is like party supplies. I don't really understand why those are so big there, but there were a number of little stores that were selling balloons and streamers and random stuff like that. You're like, okay.
So, Dawn, then I have to ask.
Yes.
Which party did you throw while you were in Vietnam?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. There were no parties. No parties.
What?
I mean, there was a sick party. There was a party for one.
Remember, Dawn,
at some restaurants, So
remember, you should never let money keep you from doing something when you're in another country, and now you regret it.
You could have had a bamboo and shoes party,
Oh, that would have been an amazing party.
Or the luggage. There was a luggage one that just sold luggage and bags.
Okay.
Huh.
And then you had like vendors that were selling stuff on bicycles. So they would have these bicycles with like a basket on the backside, but
Okay.
the whole bicycle is overflowing with stuff. There's stuff hanging off of the handlebars. There's stuff overflowing the baskets. Like
Wow.
the amount of
Wow.
stuff. I have a picture that I think I shared with you guys that there was a motorcycle that was selling pineapples, and there
Oh,
were probably
mhm.
like, I don't know, there may have been 100 little pineapples on that motorcycle. I
No, I'm
actually
looking
saw.
at your picture right now. That is ridiculous. Did it actually like drive? Did you see it drive?
I think so.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
When I was in the car at one point in time, I saw a motorcycle go by with a pig flung over, like, you know where like a
Alive
motorcycle.
or dead?
Yes, dead.
Okay.
But like somebody had gone out and like bought a slaughtered pig and was bringing it
Yeah.
home, and it was just like laying across the bottom of his, because the motorcycles are more like scooters, right?
Okay.
And so it was just laying across the bottom where his feet were, and the
Oh my
hooves were
goodness.
actually like dragging on the ground.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
gosh.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then like I saw another, like they just, the transportation there, right? Like that's the other thing is the way that the people drive there on their mopeds and scooters and stuff is just, there are no traffic laws, right?
You just
And I
go.
got some videos of like, and they basically say just start walking and don't stop. Because if you try to avoid them, you'll actually get hit. Like they're so
Oh.
good at avoiding pedestrians that they're like, just start walking and keep walking. Don't stop. Because you're more likely to get hit if you stop.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So that was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, it was
Huh.
crazy, crazy stuff. But that was really fun exploring the city and just seeing like culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of how things work. We also went to a couple of like temples where they had like their Buddhist, or I don't even know if that's the right religion, but they had their little statues and they put all their offerings up on it. And you just see people coming in to bring all their offerings. And so those were some interesting places to visit, just see. Again, a lot of the architecture was super interesting to me. The pagodas that they have. So, but yeah, so Hanoi was kind of just a mixture of taking everything in that I could possibly see.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you were talking about the transportation. What type of transportation did you use while you were there?
So I always used, so like from the airport, I had a car prearranged to meet me.
Okay.
Because one of the things in Vietnam that you have to watch out for is, and they basically say they highly recommend that you prearrange so that this person's standing there with your name, and that even if they have your name, you make sure you ask for the confirmation number to make sure it matches what you have.
Oh.
Because there's a scam that they do there where they'll pick you up and they'll take you to a hotel that's not your hotel.
Oh.
And then they'll tell you, oh, well, we'll take you to your hotel if you give us this additional money.
Okay.
And so they really were like, call your hotel, book your transportation through your hotel from the airport, have them arrange it, get you a confirmation number, verify the confirmation number, and that kind of a thing. So most of the transportation was either walking, because you could do a lot of walking,
Okay.
or asking the hotel to get the transportation for you.
Okay. Got it.
So
So they
where
knew
did
what to
you
do, right?
hear those tips from? You know, how did you find out about the fact that you need to be careful with transportation, about these scams and stuff like that? How did you find that out?
You know, that's a good question. I mean, I bought a tour book from AAA, so it had all of their tips and tricks in there. And then I think I just did online research, right? Of like
Yeah.
people who've been to Vietnam. What do you recommend? What do you know? You know, so just kind of searching things out,
Cool.
and trying to kind of find that stuff out.
So I would love to hear then, like a Vietnam specific travel tip.
I would say book the fancy hotel because it's not expensive and they're really nice. Like every night when I came back, they had, you know, made up the bed and they sprinkled roses on the bed top.
Whoa.
And super fancy. And And it was a 4-star, right? Like
Mm.
you could book a 5-star probably for $80 or $100 a night. So
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lodging was totally worth it. I think partly too because there's such a help in getting around and booking tours, and some of the more
Mhm.
popular hotels are where the tours will actually come and pick you up as opposed to you having to go somewhere to meet the tour.
Mm-hmm.
So that was convenient as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Halong Bay one, my hotel was one of the ones that they would pick up from.
Mm.
Otherwise, you had to meet them at a location.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
That's
So
nice.
I think lodging was a big piece of that.
Yeah. And how did language work for you?
So it actually worked pretty well. When it came to like the tours and the hotel, people speak English. There's a fair amount of English. It was more of like, and even all the restaurants and things that I went to, they usually spoke enough English that you could get by. So I didn't feel like language was a barrier
Cool.
really at all. It might have been like if I was a more adventurous and trying to like buy things on the street,
Mm-hmm.
they probably were not going to speak English. So
Yeah.
there would have been some challenges there.
Okay.
But and then like when we did the day trip or the couple day trip out to Cuc Phuong National Park, right, I had a tour guide with me who spoke English.
Mm-hmm.
So she did all the translating when we were out in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Nice. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh man.
How long did you spend in Vietnam total?
I was there, I think it was 10 days total.
Cool.
So not too long, but enough time that, you know, like I basically did like I got there, I think I was there for a day or two, did the Halong Bay trip for 3 days, came back, so maybe I was there for more like 14 days, actually, yeah, something like that. And then I kind of like did Hanoi, did a trip, did Hanoi for a couple days, did a trip, did Hanoi, and then left.
So 2 related questions. One, would you say that you felt like the amount of time that you were there was like a good amount of time? Do you feel like you had too much time or not enough? And then second, that kind of back and forth of spending some time in Hanoi and then going out, do you like that? Is that what you would recommend? Or would you rather do it a different way?
So I feel like it was almost it ended up being the right amount of time because I had a day where I was sick. If that
And your
hadn't
forced rest
happened,
day, pretty much.
yeah, if
Yep.
that hadn't happened, I probably would have felt like I almost had too much time
Okay.
for the trip and could have maybe done something else at the same time, you know, or gone somewhere else nearby. I kind of did like going and coming. What worked out nicely is the hotel that I stayed at was willing to hold my bags while I was gone.
Wow.
So, like, even though I was leaving because I was coming back to their hotel,
Right.
they were willing to store my luggage. So that worked out nicely, too, because remember, I had been in China for a week or two before I went there. So I didn't just have a bag for Vietnam, right? Like, I'd been in China. So
Right.
I had a fair amount of stuff that I was trying to lug around. And they were willing to store it while I was doing the
That's a
different
big
tours.
difference. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
Did you, so you were in China for a week or two and then you were in Vietnam for another like 2 weeks. So the whole trip was what, like almost a month?
Yeah, I was gone for almost a month.
Cool.
And I'm assuming in that amount of time you did laundry or something?
Yeah, so what did I do?
I don't know. I just woke up and there were clean clothes every day.
Clean clothes. I had to have done laundry somewhere along the way. But I don't remember if I did it in Vietnam or if I did it sometime in
Was it
China
something that
before
your
I left.
hotel offered?
Yeah, most of the hotels usually do. I think it was Vietnam, actually. And I don't know whether they send it out or they do it in-house. I don't know.
Cool.
But again, because it's just not expensive in Vietnam, so
Right.
Yeah, I do remember when my family, we were in Paris and our hotel like had a laundry service, and then my parents learned like how much it was. It was something like the equivalent of like $7 for a pair of underwear or something like that. And so
yeah.
They
Yeah.
like needed to do some laundry, and then they like scaled back. They're like, okay, kids, what do you really need washed right now?
Yep. And what can we do in the sink and get away with?
I know,
right?
right? I
Mhm.
mean, that's my jam is the sink laundry. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
The other
Oh,
thing
man.
that was cool in the hotel that I stayed at, they had a spa, like a massage. So I
Oh,
think I got a couple
cool.
massages there as well because, again, Vietnam, a little bit less expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Cool.
kind of nice.
That's awesome. I think I got a massage on. Oh, when I took a trip I was in Boston last year, and it was like a 2-week trip total. I was going to a couple different cities, and I was like, I kind of just want some downtime, and so I just like went and got a massage, and that was like one of the best decisions I've ever made on a trip because it was so nice. Just kind of like it was like this is vacation, right? So like on vacation, I'm gonna go get a massage, and oh man, that was a good choice I made.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Some of the best massages I've had has been when traveling.
Nice.
I don't know why.
I don't think I've ever had a real massage.
But wow.
Well,
You'll have to put that on your bucket list
There you go.
for your next trip.
yeah.
Next time I travel,
When you're in,
probably not the next time I travel.
Yeah.
When I'm in the Galapagos with a whole bunch of students, I don't know that that's going to be the next
They
time.
have those tortoise massages. It's fine. So
The tortoise massages.
they walk on your back. It's pretty effective.
Oh, they walk on your back. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess you could see. I was picturing like sprawled out, laying across a tortoise.
Wow, you have really not had a massage before.
I was like, wow. All right. I mean, I suppose we could do that.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, Don, thanks so much for sharing about this trip with us. So we have a question for you based on the title of our podcast. If you could take us with you to just one thing on your trip, what would it be and why?
Definitely Halong Bay. That was the
Okay.
highlight for sure.
Mm.
And the dinner in the Stalagmite Cave, I think you would enjoy.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, sign me up for that one. Cheryl for the food, me
Yeah.
for the cave.
Yep, I was about to say
There you
that.
go.
Yeah. I'd be like, look at this ambiance. And Ryan would be like, look at those stalactites and stalagmites. I know both
Yeah, I'd be
words.
like,
What?
wow, I wonder how old they are. I wonder what kind of limestone that is. How far back does the cave go?
And
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be like, what
Mhm.
sauce did you cook this in? Yeah. Oh, man. So, Don, what is your next trip?
I don't have anything scheduled right now. Well, my next trips are more domestic.
Okay.
I'm going to probably go to like, basketball games or something like that somewhere. But I would love to go somewhere soon. I'm kind of hoping that we might need to go to Asia to do some research.
Ooh.
And so
Ooh.
maybe I can tack on a trip to like down to Thailand or something because that's someplace I would love to go.
Cool.
Galapagos Islands is definitely on my list. I'm
mhm.
kind of jealous that, I would love
So-
to go there.
I mean, you could come if you wanted to, Dawn. I just don't know that you want to travel with a bunch of high school students. But technically,
well, maybe I can work that into my work thing because I need to do some research with
Ooh.
teens.
Oh, teen
There you
research.
go. You should totally do it.
I'm gonna
You
get
just have
spent-
to sign up in the next 5 days.
We got this, guys. This is going to work out. Yeah. I was going to ask if there's anything that Ryan and I can do as Amazon customers to necessitate the company needing more research in Asia.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to help there.
Oh, man. Oh, goodness. Well, do you have any travel questions for us?
What's your next trips?
Oh, wow. She really turned the tables on us. Well, Ryan's kind of spilled
Right.
the beans on his.
I know. I already answered the question. I'm headed to the Galapagos Islands in April of 2019 with a bunch of teenagers.
Woo!
Hey, but you get to travel, right? Like
I do. I get
sometimes
to
you have to
travel.
take the yin with the yang.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
and actually, I don't mind. I actually enjoy traveling for the most part with teenagers because they haven't been as many places. And so being able to expose them to other cultures and the cool things about travel. And I mean, I fell in love with travel when I was in high school. So if I can give opportunities to other high school students so that they can get the travel bug too, I see that as a good thing. So
Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh man. What are going to be like the key things you're going to do there? Like look at turtles, look at penguins, play in the water. Is that the itinerary?
Yep. That's basically the entire itinerary. Yep. That's it.
Those are the things I know about the Galapagos Islands. So I'm really excited for you to go there and for us to do an episode on it because apparently I need to learn some things. So
yes, we should probably. Well, we'll definitely do an episode when I get back for sure.
Yes, please.
But maybe we'll do one before too. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I'm so excited. Oh man. For me, it is currently December when we are recording this, and in a week and a half from now, I'm going down to Southern California. So I'm going to San Diego and to LA to visit two of my best friends, and I'm taking my boyfriend who has never been on an airplane before. So I am so excited. So we're going to have him on this podcast to talk. He is a 34-year-old man, and this is going to be his first flight. And so I'm just stoked. I'm so excited. And he wants to travel a lot. He just hasn't yet. And so it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to have all the fun. And so, we're going to go to the San Diego Zoo. We're going to go to Coronado Island. It'll be right before Christmas time. So probably there's lots of fun Christmassy things happening down there. So that's my next trip. Yeah.
Awesome.
Woohoo.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to move to the last segment that we have here called Wish You Were Here. Each of the three of us is going to highlight a different travel attraction from places that we've been. And it's just kind of a one little snapshot, kind of like those little postcards that I don't think anyone ever sends, but still show up in movies where it says, oh, wish you were here, in the picture of you and whatever that really cool place is. So, Dawn, would you like to go ahead and share first?
Sure. I knew this question was coming as well, so I did my homework.
Oh, good job!
Good for you.
So I would say Wish You Were Here is Great Wall of China.
Ooh.
And a little tip is take the chairlift up, but take the slide down.
There's a slide?
This is amazing. It's almost like a bobsled run.
What?
And you're on this little cart. And you sit on the cart and you go down this slide all the way down back to the bottom. And that was the highlight of the Great Wall of China.
Wow.
You can actually look it up on YouTube and see videos of people.
How did I not know that existed?
I know.
National Geographic actually did a thing on, most people don't know about this.
So here's the thing, though. From what I understand, the Great Wall of China, really, really long. So do they have them like periodically along the wall? There's only one spot on the wall that has this.
So I don't know the answer to that. I mean, the wall is really long, but there aren't like all these pathways up to the wall. There's only certain places where you can actually go up.
Okay, so it's kind of limited where you're actually going to go visit it then?
Yep. And so I don't know exactly where on the wall we were, but wherever we were, there was a chairlift up, like we were skiing, right?
Cool.
And then we got to the top, we walked around, and then we're like, oh, we can take the slide down? We're taking the slide down.
So you're you're going not parallel, but perpendicular to the wall when you're going down the slide?
Oh, you're like back and forth.
Okay.
Like switch
So
backs?
it's not just like a straight down.
Okay.
It's like a ski run, right? Like or like a bobsled trail. No, not really bobsled because it's different, but you'll have to look it up on YouTube and look for videos.
Oh my
Take the slide down.
Take the slide
so
down.
much fun. I was a little nervous because I'm like, how fast is this thing going to go?
Yeah.
But they have hand brakes on it, so you can like
Whoa.
slow yourself down.
That's
Okay, so
fancy.
that sounds like something else that I've done before in Slovenia, and it's on like it's a skiing hill in the winter time, but in the summer it's like this. It's like one metal track down the center, and it's these like yellow things that you sit on, and it has like a a lever that you can pull for like your brake. Is it
Yep.
similar to what?
Similar, yeah.
That's fun because I've done that several times.
That
and
sounds
that's a lot of
so
fun.
cool. I haven't done any of those things.
Do you wish you were there?
Yes, I really do. I want
That's
to take
cool.
the slide. Wow. How did we not know about that? Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm so glad that we do now because now if I ever go to China and go to see the Great Wall,
You have to take
I
the
have
slide
to
down.
do the slide.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not an option
Wow.
anymore. That is
No.
required. Yeah.
That is the only way I will go see the Great Wall of China is if I
Yeah.
can take the slide down.
Oh my goodness, that is so cool. Wow.
That's a good one, Dawn.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that's very cool.
Okay, Cheryl, top that.
Well, I'm not going to. So let's just get that out of the way and say that mine is going to just be disappointing, other than I can save you some money. So saving money is kind of fun. So Ryan and I have a bit of a combined one, kind of on accident, that we realized before recording. So we have both been to, I thought it was just pronounced TKTS. Ryan pronounces it tickets.
Tickets.
But, I mean, that would make sense. They just took out some of the letters, and that's how language works. So the tickets booth, I've been to the one in New York, and Ryan has been to the one in London. So I'll share about my experience in New York, and then Ryan, you can share about yours in London.
Okay.
And so I was in New York a year ago and wanted to go see some plays. So I saw one for a pretty good discount. I was with my friend Emma, and she had an app where you could get some really good discounted tickets all through this. Like, I think it was like an unsold seats thing that was through this app. But then we had to like meet someone outside of the theater and get the tickets from them. So like some company that was selling them. But then the tickets booth, there are 3 locations in New York, and I went to the Lincoln Center location because I was staying really close to there. And apparently it's like a way smaller line than the one that's actually like on Broadway. So first of all, that's a good tip to know is like, I think they have all the same because I think it's all electronic. And so, like, I think the 3 booths are selling the same tickets, and it's just when they're out, they're out. So pretty much you are buying day of Broadway tickets, and I had to stand in line, and there's, like, certain hours that it's open during. And so I had to stand in the line that, like, was outside on the sidewalk and then eventually went in the building, and they had, like, a reader board, this big board that looked like a movie theater board pretty much. And there were all these different shows and saying, like, you know, what they had and everything. And so I had time in the line to kind of decide, like, I kind of knew like which Broadway shows are going to be, I mean, I would go see anything, you know, but I had my like preferred, like, okay, these like 3 I'm still super interested in. And so we'll see by the time I get to the front of the line, what's still available. And the idea is like, the price they have for you is the price they have and the seats they have. And that is it. So you can take it or leave it. And so, but I was visiting a friend, and she's a student, and so she was in classes that day. So I just went by myself, and so I went to see Anastasia, which I don't know if I would have chosen. Like, just
I'm so jealous that you've seen that. My friend Kyle has actually asked if anyone wants to just fly to New York for the weekend to see that show.
It's really
and I've been
good.
tempted.
It's really good. So the movie, I need to rewatch the movie because it's been a number of years. But like to me, it was just like middle of the road when it comes to like animated princess films for me. But to me, the big thing with the show was the fact that they're doing this new like projection background thing. And so just like the production of it was just incredible. And I had heard about it from Emma, and she was like, yeah, apparently it's just amazing. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll check it out. And I'm so happy I did. Overall, just a great production. And then also like, I thought the projections thing, because there's times when there's like moving projections in the background, like a river that's flowing or like it's snowing. And I was like, that just sounds cheesy. And it's not. And like somehow they get their blacks to be truly black, which I don't understand either. And like there's one projection where it just looks like wallpaper, and that's all it is. And like it's so well done. And so that was fun, but I got it at a super, I think it was like 40% off, or I mean it was like probably around half off, something around that price.
Yeah.
And so it was cool because it was just like there were several shows that I would have wanted to see that were still available, and so that was the one that I chose, and then just went that night and had my ticket in hand. And so yeah, I would say that's a great way to, if you know you want to go and see some shows, but you're a little flexible on like which shows those are going to be, then I'd say that was a great way to do it. It takes a little bit of time because you have to stand in line, but honestly, for that discount, like, I was willing to do it. And also, we're talking about traveling alone. Go see a show alone. That's a great thing to go do alone on a trip. And so I had a great time just going by myself to see a Broadway play. So, yeah. So Ryan, you went to the one in London. What was that like?
Correct. So the one in London, as far as I know, there's only one. I don't think there are 3 different locations. And it's in Leicester Square, and it's been years since I've been there. What I'm remembering, though, is there's a couple of different kind of entrances like that you can walk down to get into Leicester Square, and a lot of them are lined with all sorts of things. They discount show tickets, authentic discount show ticket, like all of these different places. But really, and I mean, maybe they can get you stuff, but the tickets booth is the like legit one.
It's like the official,
and it's the same sort of thing. You can get them for cheap. Oftentimes they're good seats, but it really just depends on what's available. It's usually day of. Sometimes they might do some out, more than the day of, but they're usually day of. And it's not difficult. You just, like you said, Cheryl, if you really want to see a particular show, then, you've got less options. But if you just want to see a show, so I've seen 3 shows because I've been to London twice. And so I saw Phantom of the Opera, which was great. I love Phantom.
Yeah.
And then I saw, technically it's not a musical, but I saw An Inspector Calls, which is actually a really good show. If you've seen it. Dawn's nodding. So have you?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things.
Yeah. Did Amazon do someone within the last year online, like streaming, they produced like a movie version of it, which is also really good. I saw it, but like the show was good. A local like community theater up here several years ago, Taproot Theater, did An Inspector Calls. And so anyway, it's really
Maybe that's
good.
where I heard about it.
And then I also went and saw My Fair Lady.
Oh, what?
And it was extra cool because the theater was on Drury Lane. And no, there was no Muffin Man. And in addition to that, so the show, like the story, part of it takes place in Covent Garden, which is a region of London, and that's where the theater is.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
So the theater is
cool.
in part of London that the show takes place in. And so the set pieces, when they're like outdoor or whatever, and then you're like, oh, that's actually that thing right there. This big glass thing or whatever. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that this is like the same thing. So that was like extra cool. But yes, I suppose I'm getting distracted. It's the tickets booth in Leicester Square. That's technically the Wish You Were Here. It's definitely worth doing to see some cool shows.
Sweet. Dawn, have you ever done like a discount ticket thing or something like that?
So the one that I did was also in London, but it wasn't a booth. It was, and I don't know if multiple theaters do this, but it was at Phantom of the Opera. And you basically just stood outside of that theater.
Okay.
And
I've heard about this.
And then you just basically line up, and when they have tickets that are available because people return them or whatever, they just come out to the first person in line and say, here's what's available. Do you want it or no? If the person says no, they move to the next person, and they just kind of move down the line. And like we did it, I think we were standing out there like at 9 or 10 in the morning for like a 1:00 matinee or something we got tickets for.
Okay.
But we were able to sit like on the floor, like I think we were like 10, 12 rows back
Nice.
and like in the middle for, again, not a ridiculous amount of money because they're just trying to fill the seats
Yeah.
at that point
Right.
in time. So
Mhm.
they charge you for them, but they're not what the actual ticket price
Mhm.
is. And so that worked out pretty well for us.
Cool. Oh, that's so cool.
It was fun.
Shows are the best.
Yay for shows.
All right, off to our new podcast where we talk about Broadway.
I can contribute to that
Okay.
one too.
Okay, cool,
Yes.
cool.
Les Mis on Broadway.
Oh.
Oh, that is so fun. Oh, well, Dawn, thank you so much for being on our show. It's been so fun to have you. And,
Yes.
oh man,
It's fun.
that was just super interesting to hear all about your trip.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It was kind of enjoyable.
Yay!
Kind of enjoyable.
Brian, we are kind of entertaining and kind of enjoyable.
Yes.
We are nailing this.
Yeah, we are.
Very enjoyable.
We got upgraded, Cheryl.
Woo!
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our episode here today. So we would love it if you would follow us on social media. We are at Timwi Podcast, TMWI Podcast, on all of the different social media things. We'd love for you to follow us and subscribe and look at cool pictures. Dawn shared some pictures with us from her trip, so we'll upload some of those to our social media stuff if you want to check those out and kind of get a cool kind of images of some of the things that she shared with us today.
Yeah, you can also email us at timwepodcast@gmail.com and send us questions you have about maybe a trip that you have coming up, or maybe you want to tell us a fun or a crazy travel story, or anything else that you want to share.
Yeah, you can also give us any of that information or ideas for someone we should have on or topics we should cover. You can actually call us and leave us a voicemail or send us a text message. Just put in the number 406 Pod Timwi. That's 406-763-8699. Please also, we would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us. So that's kind of how we can get spread to more people and more people can hear about our podcast. So if you enjoy listening to our guests share their travel stories, we would love it if you would take the time to figure out how and to rate and review us, please. I've heard it can be complicated.
Yep.
So.
Oh, iTunes. They really make you jump through the hoops, but it really does matter. So that would be a huge help to us.
Yes.
Also, thank you so much to Beth Morrell for her awesome artwork. You can check her out on the socials at Beth is Something.
Thanks, Beth. That's going to do it for us for this episode. So until next time, take me with you.
Take me with you.